Alright everybody, welcome to my Death Stranding spoiler chat. So this is a hardcore spoiler warning. There's going to be spoilers galore. So, spoiler warning, I'll put it right there for you guys. So, just so you know, you're getting into some hardcore spoilers. So, I figured I'd kind of just start at the beginning of the game and just kind of slowly work my way through kind of each of the chapters and talk about things that I like, things that really confused me. So, let's dive right in. So, first off, I love the start of this game. I just really liked the way they introduced Sam and Fragile and like the way that the world works and like the BTs and the timefall and everything. It did a great job of introducing the game and kind of hooking me in, bringing me in and showing me what I was just getting into. Then after that, we have the corpse disposal team section, and I loved that section. The spookiness of the BTs and just that whole sequence was amazing. I loved just the introduction of the void outs and that the BB and just everything. It worked really, really well. I loved how they just brought you into the world and was like, yeah, this sucks. These people got to deal with this all the time. And so it was a really cool introduction to this game. And right away, I wanted all the answers to everything, even though I knew I wasn't going to get it. So in this next section, we kind of get introduced to the Bridges and the UCA, Die Hardman, Bridget, and Deadman. And I loved this section. It was really, really cool seeing how Sam, she's like, I don't care. I really don't care. And you guys aren't going to change my mind. And then once they're like, hey, Emily needs your help, he's like, I got to help Emily. And I love seeing that just kind of just, he's like, I don't care about America. He's like, I'm only doing this for Emily. And he's like, I don't care about Bridget. She's dead. Whatever. I'll go burn her body. And speaking of which, I loved that section. Once you finally get to the incinerator and then the BT showed up and he's just like, I got to use this BB to get out of here. And I loved that section. It was so like intense. I was just like, I have no clue how to deal with this situation. And I liked the tutorial for the BTs. It was like, okay, so this is a BT. Don't touch them. They're bad. And it was like, oh, okay. And then it's like, okay, now you got to sneak through them the whole time. You can't see what you're doing. And it was so scary. I loved it. I loved just the sneaking through that field that first time. It was so spooky. Just, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was coming. And I loved that feeling of just like, ah. So just real quick about the BB. I loved the BB. It was so cute. I like instantly got attached, even though like when I was started playing it, and even my wife has kind of watched me play it for a minute. I was like, "Oh, this thing's so cute," and then she's like, "Don't get attached," and it's like, "I know, but like." I gotta shake my controller to calm it down. And she's like, it's kind of creepy. And I'm like, I know, but it's so cute and I love it. And you could really tell that just the bond between Sam and this BB was really cool. You kind of just be like, I'm sorry. And you just like, just his dynamic between the two of them. It was kind of weird. It was just like an unspoken friendship. It was just like, I got you, dude. And the baby's like, all right. It's like, yeah, it was like, that's cool. I love it. Just the dynamic of these two. It was a really cute, just fun, like, hey, here's a baby in a jar. And it's like, okay, I'm not going to get attached to this thing. And I also liked how a lot of the other characters were like, oh, don't get attached to that BB. It's just a tool. And Sam's like, it's not just a tool. This is my BB. Like, F off, dude. And he's like, oh, okay. And it's like, yeah, like, it's not just a baby in a jar. It's a baby. And it's just like, it's cool. I like that dynamic of the BBs. So from here, we kind of get our first section with a lot of deliveries. And I wasn't a big fan of this section, but I still spent a lot of time here. I don't know why, but making these first like handful of deliveries, it took me like 4 or 5 hours to get through chapter two, and I liked it. It was fun to just explore. I was like, ooh, like what's over here? Ooh, what's over there? And it was just fun, just trying to pick up every single piece of lost cargo. Until at a certain point, I was like, there is so much lost cargo. I am sorry, folks. You're just gonna have to lose your cargo, and just was like, nope, I can't deal with this right now. But I loved it. It just was a great introduction to the mechanics of the game and just the general gameplay in general. And it was fun. I liked this, just the whole section of just making deliveries. And it was just like, there's really not a whole lot of story going on right now, but make deliveries. And by the way, watch out for BTs. And so like I was like, okay. And then it'd be like, I gotta make a delivery up here. And then it's like, oh, BTs, that's a problem. And then I'd have to deal with BTs. And it was such just like a fun section of just like, okay, here's kind of how the general gameplay works. Well, it wasn't like my most favorite section of the game. I thought I did a good job and it kept me entertained. It got me to chapter three. But then chapter three, or the end of chapter two, beginning of chapter three, where we get to meet Higgs for the first time, and I liked Higgs. I really like Troy Baker. Troy Baker is one of my favorite actors in video game. Him and Nolan North. I wish Nolan North was in this game for some reason, but like it was fine that he wasn't. But it just like for some reason seeing Nolan North and Troy Baker in the game together, it's like yeah, it's like my two favorite dudes, and so it's like yeah, I love these guys. They're so great. While I wouldn't say Higgs is Troy Baker's best performance to date, and Higgs wasn't the best character in the game, his design was so cool. And I loved how he could control the BTs. It just really made him seem pretty menacing. And just like the kind of the way he carried the character, and the way he's just kind of like, oh yeah, BTs, right? Haha. And then he's like, oh, by the way, I'm going to kill you. And you're just like, whoa, Troy Baker. Okay, dude. I just loved his lighthearted evilness. You're just like, ooh, he's kind of creepy, but also at the same time, he's just kind of having fun. And you could tell that Troy Baker really had fun with his character. Like I said, he wasn't his most memorable performance of all time, but the character design and just the way he carried the character was really, really cool, and I liked it. One thing I wish we would have got more of is more of Higgs' why factor. I feel like even at the end of the game, I still was just like, but why? Why was he doing this? And I think from my understanding, I feel like it was just for death's sake. He just wanted to see the death of everything, and it was kind of just, but why? Fragile said he was a cool dude, and then all of a sudden he met Emily, and it was all like, death to everything. And so, I don't know. It just was like, maybe it was a play on just like beliefs and be like, people believe whatever they want to believe, and sometimes it's just kind of whatever. And so it's, I don't know, I wasn't really sure, and I kind of wish we would have gotten more of like, oh, like not like Fragile being like, oh yeah, by the way, Higgs did this because this, you know. I wish we kind of got more from like Higgs himself, or even Emily. It was like, yeah, Higgs saw my potential in this and wanted to bring this about because he just, the world was kind of always an outcast to him. Something like that would have been really cool, and I felt like it would have elevated his character a little more. Still, like I said, I love Troy Baker and his performance, but wasn't my favorite character in the game just because he didn't get a lot of development. He was kind of just like, I'm a bad guy. Check out all these cool BT stuff. And he was like, that was cool. For this next little bit, we get to learn more about the character of Fragile, and I loved this section because it wasn't like there's a part in the boat when she kind of tries to interact with Sam a little bit more, but he's kind of just like, I don't really care. But then as you kind of go on, you're like, okay, fine, we do have to trust Fragile, but can we trust her? I loved this section because then you get to meet all the preppers in the area, and they're kind of like, oh yeah, Fragile, no, she sucks, leave her alone. Other people are like, she's great, she really helps us out. And so like it was really interesting how they did this, because I felt like it really helped me formulate my opinion, and it really kind of just showed, it was kind of almost like a social commentary on like not hearing the true story from someone themselves. I just liked how I formed my own opinion. I was like, oh, maybe she isn't a good guy. For a while, I was like, maybe she's not as good as she tries to be. But then, like, once we finally get to sit down and hear her story, more on that in a second. But I just liked this dynamic of the way that they make you go and learn about her from other characters first before hearing her side from her herself. I really liked that. It just really helped make the character seem a little bit more mysterious, and also kind of made me feel really bad once she finally did tell her story. I was like, oh, I kind of started to not like you because of what other people said, and I was like, maybe I'm the bad guy. It was just kind of weird. I liked that dynamic of the other characters telling you about the character than the character themselves telling you about the character. But when you do sit down with Fragile and she tells you the story of her and Higgs out in the rain, I loved that section. It was so cool. I loved just like, I was like, Higgs kind of sucks. He's a dick. And like, I just loved the way Troy Baker performed in all of his scenes. He was such a great actor. And yet again, his character, I wish his character was a tad better. But his performance was so great. I just loved how he just carried himself. And he's like, ha, Fragile, you're going to have to make a choice. Go out there and mess up your body, or you're going to stay right here and everyone's going to die. And it's like, great. Higgs, you suck. But I loved it. I loved the performance of the Leo, I think is her name, Lydio. I loved her performance here. You could just really tell she just was like, I want to do the right thing, but it's just, and then it's just, it was such a great scene, and I loved it. I didn't want it to end, and so when it did end, I was like, no, I want to see more. And it's just like, it's just her running through the rain and getting all old, but like, it was cool to just see that happen. I don't know. It was just really, it really caught me. Like a lot of this story really does is just catch you and hold you on tight. And I liked it. And then we get introduced to Mads Mikkelsen's character, the combat veteran as they term it at first, but Clifford Unger. I'm just going to call him Clifford Unger because we'll talk more about that later, but it'll just make things easier. And I loved his character. His design was so cool. And that scene of them coming out of the water with the skeleton army troops and like the black just drippiness, it was so cool. I want to statue of that. I want a poster of that. I want a t-shirt of that scene. It was so cool. I loved any of Mads Mikkelsen's characters' introduction scenes for the battle sequences. They were so cool. I just loved the design of everything, and it looked awesome. I just loved this design of this game. The design is so fantastic. I could just go on forever about every, like, the characters and blah, blah, blah. Anyways, but Mads Mikkelsen's character, I really liked him at first because you're kind of like, oh, I don't like this guy. But then also because you've had the BB flashbacks, you're like, wait a minute, I recognize him. So what's his story? But you don't find out for quite a bit, and I really liked that. I liked how it didn't just tell you right away, and it's like, oh, by the way, Clifford Unger, da, 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 da. You're like, oh, what? And I also liked how you're kind of like, okay, he's got to be BB's dad because we saw him in the flashback sequences with BB, and he's like, BB, I love you, and you're just like, oh, cute. But then when he's trying to take BB back, and it like Sam doesn't bother asking him any questions, like he like guns him down, and then Mads Mikkelsen's just like, give me back my BB, and then Sam could have like before that Sam could have been like, who are you? Da 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 da. But like nothing was really said, which I also liked. I like kind of like the silence is golden thing, where it's just kind of like Sam doesn't really know what's going on, and also kind of Mads Mikkelsen's character doesn't really know what's going on. And I like this dynamic of that. That was really, really cool. I did like the gameplay of these sections though. It was a nice, fun change, fast pace. Everything else had been very, very slow and up to this point. Then it like really picked up and was like, this is really cool. I like the shooting in this part. It was fun. It was just a fun section, and I love the design of the army skeleton troop guys. They look awesome. I just love the design. It's so good. And so just like I loved the change of pace there. It did a really good job of just being like, hey, this game's not all slow. There's some cool stuff going on. So after that, we finally get to meet Mama, and Mama's character was really interesting to me. I loved her just story. It was really sad, and like the whole scene of her being trapped in the hospital with the ghost baby, that was rough. I can't remember the actress's name off the top of my head. I will probably look it up between cuts here, but like she does a fantastic job in that sequence when she was just trapped under there. It was really tough to watch. I was like, "Ugh, that's rough," and just like the way the actress portrayed the scene and delivered the lines, it was rough. It was like, that was hard to watch. That was tough. I mean, I've never had an experience with losing a kid or anything like that. I'm married, but I don't have any kids. But like, it was hard. It was just like, oh, that's rough. I don't know how you could watch that sequence and be like, I don't feel bad for her at all. Psh, she deserved it. It's like, no, dude. Like that was rough to watch, and just like being trapped under the rubble and having your ghost baby floating around you, that was rough. And so like her character was really interesting. And so when she finally dies and forms with her sister Lochna and kind of just becomes one, I thought that was really cool, and it made a lot of sense. And I kind of like the acceptance there. They're just kind of like, yeah, you know what? Life sucks, but you know what? We can do it together. I liked that, and it was really, really cool. And I thought that dynamic of just them coming together to form one was really interesting. And I actually wish that they would have shown more of Lochna slash Mama's character later on, because I kind of feel like after that section you don't really see her at all. But if you do, then it's kind of just like for like she pipes in, she's like, oh, by the way, da 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 da. You don't really get to see her character build anymore of that just being like, hey, we're both as one. And so Mama's character was really, really cool. That sequence when Sam has to cut that umbilical cord, yet again, the performances there and the delivery was so well done. I love that sequence. It was just like, that's rough. That's rough. Having your ghost baby cut from your tummy, that's not fun. I wouldn't want to have a ghost baby, first off, and then have a ghost baby cut from me that I've had to deal with for the last year or whatever. And so it was a cool scene. I really liked it. So after we lose Mama, we lose BB, and losing BB made me really appreciate BB. And having to go through those mountains was kind of tedious at points, but then when you would run into BTs without BB, that was really tedious. Trying to manipulate, like not manipulate, make your way through the BT fields without BB was really, really tricky. It was like one of my favorite sections, but also my least favorite because it's like, ooh, this totally changes everything. Because now I have to like really think about like what I'm doing. But then also it's just like I liked it makes you appreciate BB. Like if you didn't like BB at first, you really like BB after that section because it really shows just like how important he is to your mission, to your objective. And so I liked that section of just it's like no BB, but there's BTs everywhere, so you got to deal with that. And it's like great. So after all that, and then another encounter with the combat veteran, we get to meet Hartman, and I liked Hartman. Hartman was really cool, and he was a fun character. I loved his just the character, the dynamic of like, yeah, I kill myself every 20 minutes so I can go find my wife and child in the afterlife. I was like, oh, that's brutal, dude. Like, it was a cool like character. It's just like that's fun and weird and different. He was a very different character, that's for sure. One thing I really liked is his use of the likes and dislikes system, and it's kind of like a fourth wall breaking thing. And Sam's just like, "Cool, I got it," and Harmon's like, "Kink," and it's like, "Yeah, that's cool." And then like Sam with the record scratch, she's like, and it's like, it was fun. I liked it, and it was just a fun kind of like fourth wall. Just like he gets it. Harmon's fun, he gets it. But like I really just liked his that whole section and just the explanation of the mass extinctions and the extinction entity. I thought that was a really cool way to introduce it because it was just kind of super sciencey, but like it made sense. It wasn't like you don't have to be a science major to understand um, the extinction entity idea and the idea of the mass extinctions. It did a great job of explaining it, and I just didn't piece together anything at all with it. I was just like, oh, cool, it's good stuff to know. Whatever, next objective. And then I was just like, looking back on it now, I was like, they gave a lot of information there that was really important that I probably should have paid attention to, which I did. I just didn't catch on it. And so I just liked that section for its introduction of the science into the world and kind of trying to explain it with science. And it's like there is a science to explain it. And what is the science? We don't know. But then you figure it out later on, and it's totally awesome. So for the next section, we finally get to Edge Knot City and we get introduced to Higgs more. And we get to interact with his character more. And he doesn't just kind of like pop in and be like, here's a giant BT to fight. See ya. No, he pops in. He's like, okay, you have caused some major problems, dude. And I'm going to take Amelie and we're going to go and cause this mass extinction and we're going to call it a day. And I really like this section. It was like just really just yet again, Troy Baker's performance is amazing. I just wish they could have expanded on his character a little bit more in his specific section. Well, they did a pretty good job of being like, okay, there's a little bit more information here. They didn't really just like flesh more out than I wanted to. Yet again, it's probably just me just being like, I wanted more, you know. But I just love Troy Baker's performance here. He does so good, and he's just such an amazing actor, and just the character was just like having fun being a bad guy, and so it was cool. But as for his boss fight, it was a pretty fun boss fight. I liked running around and beating him up with cargo, and there's actually some bunch of fun, like cool, like video game references. Like there's even a PlayStation cargo container. There's like a PlayStation console, and then you like go up and punch Higgs in the face with it. I thought that was fun. And then the whole Street Fighter section with Higgs fight, that was so cool. I did not see that coming. I liked it. It was a fun change of pace compared to the other combat sections. And so finally, once you take out Higgs and he's got the shit beat out of him, and he's just like, you finally get to kind of see him and Fragile have their moment of she shows up and she's like, I'm gonna kill you, but like you gotta answer some questions first. And so then she kind of takes him off. And when she first took him off, I was like, maybe Fragile is a bad guy and that she's kind of working with Higgs. But then I was like, but no, because Higgs kind of screwed her over. And then for a while, I was like, maybe she didn't kill him and he's going to come back and cause more problems, which he didn't, which was fine. But I did like how later on she reveals, she's like, I'm either going to kill you or I'm going to just let you wander the beach forever. So he kind of had an ultimatum, and you do hear a gunshot. So I don't know if that was her not being able to kill him or if that was him killing himself or her actually killing him because he said he didn't want to wander the beaches forever. I don't really know, but I would like to think that he would. I don't know. I would think that he would rather die than wander the beaches forever. Just that would make sense for his character. So I would like to think that Higgs is dead. And I thought that the ending for that character was pretty satisfying. I just mostly liked the fight. The fight was really, really cool. So after Higgs is taken care of, we get a lot of information that changes everything. So you're in Amelie's Beach, and all of a sudden Pridgett's there, and Die Hardman's there, and Clifford Unger's there, and it's like, what is going on? And then Amelie kills you, and then you wake up, and then Deadman's like, hey, check this out, and then Die Hardman's recording is like, oh, hey, by the way, Amelie doesn't exist. And you're just like, what? And it's like, what is going on? There was so much information in that part that just like changed everything in the game. It's just like, what is Die Hardman doing there? What is his connection with Clifford Unger? Because they kind of have a moment when he's like, when Clifford Unger's like John, and then he's like, oh shit, you know. And so it was a really cool moment of just like, what is going on? And I want to know the answer to everything, but I didn't get it. And so it was really confusing, but I loved the twist of Amelie doesn't exist. I did not see it coming at all, but then when you look back and think about it, it makes sense. And it was really cool, especially later on when we get a little bit more information, but I'll talk about that here in a second. But I just liked the way they introduced the twist like that. I liked how they kind of like plant the seed and don't fully explain it and be like, maybe that's what's going on. And you, like, as the player, you're like, I get it. But then, like, the characters in the game, they're like, I can't accept that. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so then but like, as a player, you're like, I get it. And then you kind of like start piecing it together and you're just like, whoa, it was really cool. And I liked just the way they brought this. And I thought it was a really cool twist that I definitely didn't see coming. And this part also reveals some information that I really didn't think about at the time, but then like once we know like the end of the game, then it makes a little bit more sense. But so at the time they're like, oh yeah, Amelie doesn't exist, and we know she doesn't exist because Bridget had cancer and she can't have kids. And so you're just like, oh, so then Amelie totally doesn't exist. And then for like a moment I was like, but then wait, what about Sam? But then like the characters were like, oh crap, Amelie doesn't exist, da, 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 da. And they like didn't really think about Sam. And I was like, but Sam was her daughter. So then I was like, wait, what's going on? So then I kind of had that thought, but then I just was like, oh, whatever, they'll probably explain it, or just It doesn't matter. And then it totally matters. Just you wait, it totally matters. And I just like that because it really made me think. I was like, wait a minute, but there's a little bit more information here that we don't get, that I really liked how they went about this. It wasn't just like, oh yeah, Amelie doesn't exist, and also Sam, you're not her daughter. They didn't really bring that up, and I liked that dynamic of just like, no, they're not gonna say anything about it, because then it would change everything and really make you think. It kind of would ruin the end. So I liked how they did this, and they didn't really focus on Sam. It was most all the focus was on Amelie. So after this whole section, you have to have a long trek back to Capital Knot City, and I liked it. I loved this trek. Yes, you literally have to walk all the way back across the map, which was at times was like, okay, I've been here and I just want to get back and continue the story and figure out more. But then also at the same time, it kind of did the same thing that the gameplay had been doing the whole time. Was it really made me think about what was going on and made me kind of try to piece everything together. And the whole time I was thinking, I was like, should I trust Die Hardman? Do I not trust Die Hardman? Like, it was just, I had a lot of thoughts going on that walk back. I was like, what's going to happen next? Is Fragile going to live? Just like, I had a lot of thoughts running through my head as I went through that final walk back to Capital Knot City. And then I get intruded by some giant BT monster, and I was like, great, now I got to deal with this. And it kind of gets your mind off of it. But then also we get the last section with Clifford Ungard as the combat veteran, shooting sections, and I loved this last section. I kind of liked the Vietnam feel, because then I liked the rope, and I was able to really use the rope to my advantage. I liked that. But then you get the moment once you finally take out Clifford Unger, and you get the moment where he's kind of just sitting there, and like Sam's like, are you the father? And I feel like at this moment, Clifford Unger realizes that Sam is his son. More on that later. Spoiler. But this is a spoiler chat. And so I feel like at that moment he realizes that Sam is his son. And so like when Sam is like, are you the father? And he's like, yeah, I am. He kind of realizes it and accepts it. But also when I think back on it, it's like, I don't know. Like, does he just assume that BB is still his son and that just the BB is his son? Or does he really kind of partially at least understand that Sam is his son? And so that section was really, really interesting for me, because at the time I didn't know the twist that Sam was Clifford's son. And so like at the time I was like, oh yeah, he's accepting that BB is his son, and that, he's not gonna be able to see him again, that his life is over, but BB continues to live on. And I liked that. But then looking back, now we know that like, the big twist of Sam being Clifford's son, it just makes me think, I'm like, did Clifford know and accept at that point? I don't know. I don't really have a concrete of like idea of what, but I want to say yes, he does realize that Sam is his son, and that he kind of accepts that, and he can kind of die in peace and let his ghost move on, and not be so like, I want my BB back, or that he finally just accepts that he's not going to have his BB back. I don't know. I would like to like ask Hideo Kojima and be like, what is going on here? But that's pretty much the whole game, but I don't think I'll ever get the chance. But that would be really cool. So going into the last sections of the game, and this was in a lot of just kind of sitting back and watching things happen, and I loved it. It was so great and so cinematic. But we get the point where Sam kind of just accepts. He's like, you know what? He's like, you guys make America happen. I'll give my life to let other people be connected. He's like, I've spent this whole game connecting people, and I feel like that was when his character really had his big moment. Just the whole game, he's kind of just like, I don't care about America, like whatever you guys do, I'm just doing this for myself. But then kind of at that point, he's like, no, I'm doing this for more than just myself. And I liked that he kind of accepted that like he might not be coming back. That was really hard to watch too. It was just kind of like, I want him to come back. And so it was a really cool moment of Norman Reedus did a great job of portraying the scene. He did a great delivery, and it was awesome. So then we finally get to confront Amelie, sorry. And I loved this sequence. Finding out that her and Bridget are the exact same person, that they're kind of like this godlike extinction enemy, that yes, she is the extinction entity, and she just wants to end it. She's just like, I gave up hope on humanity. You guys suck. So I'm just going to kill you. But then Sam, with their connection, he's just like, no, don't kill us. Like, there's so many great people out there. Like, I just left all these people behind to come and stop you to save them. And so then she finally realizes that she's like, yeah, maybe I will, buy you guys some time, give you guys a chance to connect and come back together as a nation. And I liked that. It was really cool. And it was a really cool moment. I loved like the hue of the oranges and the reds. It really seemed kind of like the end of days. And then after that, I was really confused on that part, by the way. Like, I was like, He's like, he like had the gun. He was like crying, and I was like, what do I do? And then I was like, I'll just shoot her. That seems like the best option. So I shot her, and it did nothing. And then I got kind of like the fake out ending where she's like, goodbye, and then like, I was like, ah, what? And then it was like reconnect, and I was like, yeah, and then it brought me right back, and I was like, okay, that wasn't the right choice at all. It took me a moment to figure that scene out, but then I really liked the scene of her kind of just like closing herself off and being like, yeah, okay, I'll give humanity another chance. And then she kind of just drops him on the beach. And then the credits started playing. I'm like, that's the end? Are you kidding me? Like, oh my gosh, like what a way to end the game. Like it just seemed kind of very abrupt. And then all of a sudden you gotta walk around on the beach forever. And this scene was like weirdly intriguing because it's just like I would start running one way and then you'd like collapse, then you'd wake up back in the same spot. And then Amelie would show up and explain some things, and I liked that she did that. It really, really helped expand the lore of the world, and it really helped me understand a lot of the questions that I still had. And so I appreciate this section for that reason of Amelie just showing up just to explain things. It really, really helped me answer all the questions I didn't have answers to that I wanted answers to. So I liked how they did that. Then we get the fake out ending, and oh my gosh, the fake out ending. Having that fake out ending was so brutal. I literally thought it was the end, and for a good solid like 7 seconds, I was like, "Is this like?" I didn't know what to do. I was like, "Is that the end?" Like at first I was like, "Why did he shoot himself?" And then I was thinking about it, I was like, he's kind of in a repetitive loop of him just walking around this beach, so it totally makes sense. And then Amelie said that the gun was gonna matter, and so like I liked that fake out ending, even though I wish it kind of lasted a little longer and like something like that. But then it would be really cool. Here's a good idea: if you do the fake out ending, and then it does like the title card, and then it takes you back to the main menu, but when you hit continue game, it takes you like to the after part. That would have been cool. But also, I feel like it would have turned a lot of players to be like, "Oh, what?" And then like that's the end of the game, and then like, and then they never touch it again. So I think that could have been cool, because then all the rest of the game after this point is just pure, just like, and so cutting that out for some players would have been really mean. But anyways, so getting Sam back into the real world, Die Hardman takes president's spot, and then we get one of my favorite scenes in the game, and it was when Die Hardman admits to that he killed Clifford Unger, that he just breaks down, and I love this scene because the whole time Die Hardman's kind of just been this guy. And he's like, America, like we gotta come together, and da 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 da. But then in this scene, he just breaks down as a human being. You see him without his mask on. He's like, I'm not wearing the mask anymore, and you can just see his character break. And the guy who portrays Die Hardman, I can't remember his name, something Jenkins. I wish I would have looked these up so I could give proper praises to these guys. But his performance right here was so great. I really wanted to feel bad for his character, but I didn't. And so I kind of feel bad. But like his performance right there was so great. I just loved the way that his character really broke. Like I said, the whole time he'd been so just like firm and just like, yeah, and then all of a sudden at the end he's crying like a little bitch, and it was so great, and I loved it. It was just a fun way to just kind of conclude his character in the sense of just like he has demons to deal with and he accepts it, but he's never going to move on from it. So after this, we figure out BB is dead, and oh, that broke me. I was so sad for like a good solid like 20 minutes. I was so like just broken. I was like, oh, BB, I knew I shouldn't have gotten attached to you. And I love the delivery of this scene of Norman Reedus just kind of like not wanting to accept that BB was gone. I mean, Lou is the name that he gives it, so I guess that'd be easier to call him Lou. But I liked just the way that he kind of just was like, oh, like, yeah, BB's dead. And he's like, everyone was right. It's just as a tool, and I can't get attached. And he's like, but I got attached, and now I've got to deal with this. And then I love when Deadman was like, hey, by the way, between you and me, there is a way out of this, and it could potentially fix all your problems. And it was, you could kind of see that he's like, okay, okay, take it into consideration. Then we got to walk to the incinerator, and I loved how this scene went because it kind of felt full circle, like the kind of like the first like gameplay moments where you walking Bridget's corpse to the incinerator, and so like having one of the last scenes in the game or like the last gameplay moments of having you walk BB's dead body to the incinerator was really really cool, and the song in the background, it was just a really kind of humbling moment. Like I had a lot of time to really just kind of think about the journey I'd been on and think of the experience as a whole, and it really kind of hammered home the game and just really like made me think about everything. But then we get some more information. So the whole game, every time you plug in a BB, you get some sort of memory of BB in a jar, and just Clifford Unger's character, and he's just like kind of just being a fun dad. And he's like, yeah, my wife's in like a coma pretty much, and my baby's in a jar, but like we're still cruising. Like happy birthday, Merry Christmas, things like that. And I really like these scenes because they're kind of just like little bits of information, but like you didn't get a lot. And so then finally Sam decides to plug in one more time and everything gets unveiled. So this time we get to see kind of a lot of those memories. We see specific memories when Die Hardman's character, I think his name was John, I don't think we get a last name, his character John comes in and they're interacting and is like, hey Clifford, like, hey, I'm working here now, I'm working for the president. And he's like, but things are kind of messed up and you should get your kid out of here. Your wife, she's not going to make it. He's like, you're going to kind of have to take care of the situation. He's like, I've set everything up for you. I'm going to help you out of here. And you could really tell Clifford's kind of just going back and forth. He's just like, I can't do this to my wife. I want to get my kid out of here, though. He's like, this is a really bad situation. And I loved Mads Mikkelsen's performance right here. This was when it really set this character in for me and just was like, this guy was awesome. I loved his performance and I loved his character, especially when he was trying to have to kill his wife. I was like so into that scene and just the way Mads Mikkelsen performed and just the portrayal of like the facial capture and just like really you could tell that he did not want to do it, but he knew what he had to do to protect the kid. And I liked it. It was such a cool just scene. It was really rough to watch him just shoot his wife in the face, but like it was really intense to just watch his face because pretty much the whole time you see his face, you don't really see a whole lot going on. So you can see a lot of little things on his face of just like, I don't want to do this, but I have to for the better of the future of my kid. Then all hell breaks loose. He kills his wife. He takes BB. He's running down the hall, and we've seen a lot of these scenes in like the trailers and through these flashbacks from BB plugging in BB, and he's finally kind of getting away, and it's almost starting to work. But then Sam unplugs, and you see him loading BB and his cufflinks onto the incinerator, so he can kind of just like go off the grid. And for a moment, I really thought that he was gonna let BB just stay there for it. It killed me. I was like, I was on my couch, I was gripping my controller, and I was like, don't. Just I was like, please grab it. And it just did such a great job of like, he's not gonna grab it, and he kind of starts walking. I feel like I remember him kind of walking away for a second. I probably need to go and watch it again. He probably doesn't walk away, but it takes him a second to reach in and grab that. And when he does, I was kind of like, okay. But then he decides to plug in one more time, and everything changes. So Clifford Unger's escaping. Things aren't going well. He gets shot, and he's kind of hiding out in this one room. But then now Sam is in the room. He's kind of like the ghosts, like shadow thing. He's trying to like block bullets. And he's like, no, don't shoot Clifford Unger. And he's like trying to like stop like the guys from coming in the door, things like that. But he's just kind of the shadow, so everything kind of just moves around him and things like that. Then everything kind of comes together. Clifford Unger is about to die, but he stands up and he's like, oh, you're Sam, right? And Sam's just like, what? Clifford Unger's like, you're my son. And just is like, well, not like directly like that. I feel like it's kind of a little bit more ambiguous, but he kind of is like, I feel like that's like the memory of the combat soldier in Vietnam when he kind of like I said, I feel like he kind of accepts that Sam's his son or kind of like realizes it. And so like, I feel like in this moment kind of also kind of confirms that he like knows that Sam is his son. And the whole time, so he's like holding the baby because he took the baby out of the jar and he's holding the baby in his hand. And I was kind of like sitting there freaking out. I'm like, what is going to happen? And he was sitting there holding the baby in his hand. And then I was like, wait, there's the baby in Sam's throat. Like when he does the repatriating, he like goes in and like the baby's like, oh, and it's like, bink, it does that. I was like, is Mads Mikkelsen gonna shove the baby down his throat? I kind of wanted to see that. I was freaking out. I was like, oh, I figured it out. That's what the baby in the throat is he's gonna shove the baby. I was kind of hoping I would see that scene of Mads Mikkelsen just shoving a baby down Norman Reedus' throat. I wanted to see that, but I didn't get it because we got something even better. Bridget slash Die Hardman shoots Mads Mikkelsen and the baby. And it's kind of a brutal scene to kind of see the baby just like, blah. And, but kind of like the realization of like, Sam is Clifford Unger's son, but so then the baby in the jar is not who we thought it is. It's just another baby. It's just another BB in a jar. And so it just was like, kind of like a moment of just like, oh, interesting. And I was freaking out, of course, because I'm just like, oh, oh, like I had no clue of this. Like I did not expect this at all. I'm sure somebody probably saw it like a mile away, but me, I did not see it coming. And then they had the scene when they have the BB in the jar, and Bridget's like, "Oh, I'll raise him as my own." And you're like, "Oh, that explains the thing with her not being able to have kids and Sam being her kid because she adopted him." But then also you can see the reflection of Sam's scar in the BB tank, because you've seen that scar several times throughout the story, whether it's just like through a dream or when he's getting in the shower or something, and you see that scar and you're kind of just like, oh, weird. But then also I think at one point, if I remember correctly, at one point in one of the Mads Mikkelsen's combat sequences, he has like a flame in his stomach of that same kind of cross scar shape. And I made the connection. I was like, wait a minute, Sam has a scar just like that in the same spot. So what the hell does that mean? Then at this point, it all comes together. It's like Sam is Clifford's son. And it just really brought that in and was just like, oh, what? And I love that scene of just like the moment when I realized that I was freaking out. I was like crying. I was like, oh my gosh. And then BB dies. And then, oh my gosh. And then Sam breaks, you hear the jar break. And then you're like, okay, he's going to get BB back. Because Deadman had told him that there's like a 70% chance that if you break him out of the jar, he's not going to make it. But there's a 30% chance that he'll make it. Or other way around. Some numbers of some kind. And, I liked this. It was really rough to watch because you wanted Lou to live and just, then they could like run away and be happy together. But then it does like one of those movie things where it's like, oh, they did. They're gonna die. Like, and Sam's trying so hard to bring baby back to life, and he just is like, he's so close. Like, you kind of see like his little baby eyes kind of like opening, but then also you see like the ghost umbilical cord coming out of him, and so you're like, like what's gonna happen? And then you think BB dies, and I was like, oh, this is sad. And so finally, Sam, BB back to life, and Lou's like, and I was freaking out. I was like, yay! Like the baby I got so attached to lives, and then it ends. And I thought that was such a great way to end the game. Like, it was so just like made me hopeful that it's like, cool, everything's gonna be okay. Sam's just gonna raise this baby and it's be okay. And then we figured out the baby's name's Luis, which didn't like change everything. And it was like, oh, baby's a girl. I was like, oh, okay. It didn't change everything, but it was a fun little addition. Be like, okay, cool. This baby's a girl, and so it's just kind of fun. It was kind of fun to see that. But yeah, so. Well, that's everything I can think of. The one thing that I just can't really place that's so kind of got me thinking is how much did Clifford Unger really know? Like I kind of said back in like the Vietnam scene and like in the scene with the hospital, just like how much did he really know? Like he was there in the scene with the beach and Amelie's like, "Oh, I'll bring you back to life, BB." And so it just is like how much does he really know? And so it makes you kind of wonder. That's the one thing that I've been kind of thinking about. And I feel like the game makes it seem like he knows more than he's showing. And I like to think of it that way. So, that's it. That's my Death Stranding spoiler chat. What did you guys think about this game? What was your favorite moments in this game? I love this game. It had so much great just designs and imagery, and I love the message of connection. Hideo Kojima said that this game is all about forging connections and like feeling alone, but you're not alone. And so I loved it. I loved this game so much, and I was so glad I was able to sit down and talk with it. So what did you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. And while you're also down there, could you like, subscribe, and hit the bell to get notified every time I post a new video? That would be great. So thanks as watching. Thanks as always for watching. I really do appreciate it. So just let me know what you guys think. I really love this game. Like I said in my review, this is probably my game of the year so far. I can't think of anything that's really caught me like this and was so great to play and watch. So what do you guys think? Game of the year for you? What did you think about Death Stranding? Just let me know down below. And thanks as always for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time on A Game for Your Thoughts.